Chapter 1 Travel Expenses Repair. Yang Si had a dream, a nonsensical dream. She didn't remember the details of the plot, but she vaguely remembered that in her dream, she had a full belly and formed a team with a group of friends to conquer the devil. During the period, she went through a series of funny stories about traveling through mountains and rivers, and then there was nothing more. Just before Sheng and I, someone pressed hard on her stomach, and she woke up. After waking up, she still vaguely wondered whether the baby in her belly had been born. After staring at the ceiling in trance for a while, Yang Si's eyes widened again, but then she was completely awakened by the little guy twisting around on her belly. Ma, mama, oh ma, get up and play with me. The little guy seemed to know that Yang Si had woken up, and he twisted his little buttocks more and more excitably. Yang Si looked at this small human-shaped cannonball on his body, and his first reaction was, "Who is this guy?" Then I thought about how I didn't look nice at all. The way I woke up must be wrong. Maybe I'm still dreaming. Yang Si hugged the little guy who started to dance tango on her body, held her in his arms, and fell down on the bed again to fall asleep. The little guy played with Yang Si's fingers. Perhaps he was infected with sleepiness. After a few minutes, he clutched Yang Si's fingers and fell asleep. This time, he probably slept long enough, and Yang Si soon couldn't sleep anymore. After waking up, I looked at the baby in my arms. I didn't react for a while and wondered, is it possible that my sister has been here and she didn't say anything to me this time? Yang Si's cousin has a hobby. Whenever her cousin is on vacation, she will throw her baby to Yang Si, and she will go shopping with 3 or 2 friends. It can be said that this little nephew was brought up by Yang Si. However, the baby seems to be a lot bigger than the one in my arms. Yang Sifin opened the quilt and looked at the child's appearance carefully, confirming that it was the child he had mistakenly thought he was in a dream. Full of questions, she carefully opened the quilt and got out of bed. Looking at the baby on the king-size bed, she left the bedroom with complicated emotions. Yang Si looked through the entire house and finally confirmed that he had traveled through time or was wearing his future self. The evidence is the familiar ID card in my hand and some unfamiliar documents with Korean characters. Although she was quite frightened, fortunately she was not hanging out in the JJ for free. She immediately calmed down and quickly found the computer in the study room. Turning on the computer, due to the rapid development of technology, Yang Si fumbled for a while before entering the desktop. The background picture on the desktop happened to be a little guy sleeping in the bedroom. He was wearing handsome suspender jeans and a white shirt, a small military cap on his head, and small leather boots. He was waving a small shovel and carrying a small red plastic bucket. He was playing happily with a Shar-Pei dog. The picture looks like a candid shot, vaguely revealing a corner of a villa. Yang Si should have been somewhat impressed by such a scene, but in fact she didn't feel familiar at all. Fortunately, she didn't pay much attention to it. She quickly found the browser and opened it. The homepage that popped up was Baidu Andy. The ant's logo did not change at all, and Yang Si logged into his account feeling very cordial. First, I looked at the major events in recent years, and then started to check the recent flights back to China and the balance of my bank account. The balance was not much. She calculated the total number of cards, and it was only a little over 20,000. Excluding the air tickets, there was not much money left. Yang Si picked up the wallet he took out again. In addition to several 10,000 Korean won notes, there were also bank cards with obvious bank logos. Fortunately, after time traveling, he had a translator aura, and Yang Si could barely understand most Korean. Yang Si had no sense of reality at all when he woke up in a foreign country and was still unfamiliar with South Korea. So much so that her first reaction was to return home. She is just an ordinary person, and she feels safer returning to her own country. When she thought of this, she couldn't wait to buy a ticket for tomorrow morning, thinking about talking to her child's father that evening. Maybe going home to visit relatives is a good reason. As for whether she was married now or what happened, Yang Si had no idea at all. Although she believed that she would not be involved in such a thing as being kept by someone, she even found the baby's passport but not the marriage certificate, which really raised a question mark on this issue. Mom, Mamu. The little guy's cry came from the bedroom. Young-si got up, pushed the chair away, and ran back to the bedroom. Skillfully picking up the little guy, Young-si patted him on the back and coaxed him. Why are you crying? Baby, mommy is here. The little guy cried and twitched, and his voice was very aggrieved. It seems that Young-si's little nephew often cried because of such things when he woke up and couldn't see adults. She coaxed and carried him to the bathroom on the other side of the bed. The little guy quickly stopped crying after being coaxed by Young-si, hugged Young-si's neck, and buried his head in embarrassment without saying a word. Young-si helped him stand up, took off the little guy's pants, and asked him to face the toilet. Looking at the red-faced, sleeping little guy who was sweating profusely, Young-si felt soft in his heart. This was his own child. Before she came here, Young-si was still a little girl in her early 20s, and she was still a child. How could she have imagined that she would have a child in the blink of an eye? Although I have experience in raising my own baby, it is limited to feeding the baby and playing with him. As for how to educate, Young-si said this is a serious problem. After washing the little guy's hands, Young-si led him downstairs. Little Yi, good afternoon. You just woke up? Are you hungry? Auntie baked the apple pie and brought it out immediately. You go and sit down while we pour a glass of milk to go with it, okay? A middle-aged woman came out of the kitchen and said to the little guy with a smile. It turns out that the little guy's name is Yi, which sounds like his family's nickname. Young-si smiled and looked at Xiao Yi, but did not speak on his behalf. Okay, thank you, Aunt Zhao. He replied with a sweet voice. He looked very well behaved, which made Aunt Zhao very happy. It seemed that she was just an aunt invited by her family, and Young-si breathed out inexplicably. Aunt Zhao looked at Young-si again. Mrs. Kwan, is dinner still Chinese food? Young-si nodded in reply. It seemed that he was married, and his husband's surname was Kwan. It seemed that in China, the surname Kwan was rare. Young-si drank black tea, and after finishing 2 snacks one by one, Young-si wiped his mouth for him and did not let him continue eating, fearing that he would not be able to eat dinner if he ate too much now. Picking up the cup and plate, Young-si walked into the kitchen, put the things in his hands on the table, and said to Aunt Zhao, I will take Yi out later. Please wait for Aunt Zhao to wait for me to come back before getting off work. Aunt Zhao looked at her in embarrassment. She had to rush home to cook for her children. Young-si thought for a moment and realized that it was a little embarrassing, so he explained, I won't keep you waiting for a long time. I'll probably be back before 6 o'clock. Aunt Zhao calculated that she would go home and cook at this time, so she agreed. Young-si went out because she thought she would not be able to return home without money, although she did not know the current password. But she thought that she could go to the bank and reset her password. As for taking Yi with her, it was because she was worried about the little guy being alone at home. Young-si selectively ignored the fact that there was a living person like Aunt Zhao at home. After taking the ID and bag, Young-si carried them one by one and went out. Of course, he didn't forget to take a photo of the house number with his mobile phone. Fortunately, the phone can be turned on with a fingerprint. After holding E one by one and walking for about 10 minutes, Young-si began to get impatient. This section of the road was too long, and why he hadn't left this area yet. She patiently asked Xiao Yi, who was watching with great interest, Baby, let's take a test on you and see if our smart little Yi can answer it. The 2-year-old baby could probably understand the meaning of the adult's words. Knowing that Mommy was going to take a test on him, he clapped his hands very happily. Okay. Young-si grabbed his flailing little hand and continued to walk forward according to the road signs. E, how does Daddy usually go at? The little guy frowned and thought hard. Said Didi, can you tell Mama where Didi got the bus? Could it be a taxi? E immediately, innocently pointed to the passing plane in the sky and said, Didi. Looking at her silly and cute son, Young-si had no choice. It seemed that instead of counting on the child, it would be better to rely on her own 2 legs to get out of this villa complex. Fortunately, It didn't take long for her to get out of the gate, and with the help of the security guard, she successfully called a black taxi. After thanking the enthusiastic security guard, Young-si got into the car one by one. Considering that she was not very familiar with South Korea, a strange country, she asked the driver to drive to the nearest Bank of China. After asking the bank employees, Young-si went to several bank locations and finally settled all the matters. Seeing that it was getting late, he took a taxi home with Xiaoyi. With her aunt at home, Young-si doesn't have to worry about how to get into the house for the time being. After dinner, I took the baby to take a bath and coaxed him to sleep. After finally waiting for him to fall asleep, Young-si quietly went to the study room and turned on the computer. The top report is about the news that BB Captain Kwon Chi-young is about to retire. Young-si didn't have much impression of the Korean entertainment industry. At most, he knew Korean stars such as Rin Xiaomei. This Kwon Ji-young was probably a star who debuted later, and he didn't know what movies he had acted in. This time, Young-si wanted to check the amount of money on the bank card whose password was changed today. Because it was a Korean card, she naturally had to log in to Korean online banking. Several cards were bound to her current mobile phone number, so it was easy to check. Looking at the string of zeros, Young-si fell silent, and then logged on to Baidu to convert Korean won into soft sister coins. Several cards added up to millions. Who can tell her that she is not robbing the bank anymore? As a computer student, she would not be able to earn so much even if she developed software independently. What's more, after calculating the time, she was conceived just before graduation. In this way, she has no chance to go out to work. It seemed that Mr. Kwon was still a rich man, and he gave her millions of dollars for his family. That's good. I even have travel expenses. Chapter 2, Flying to Shanghai. The next day, when Young-si got up, he remembered that Mr. Kwon had not come back last night. That's fine, but it would be embarrassing for her to face a strange husband, even if they have already given birth to a child. She woke up at around 7 o'clock. She helped him put on his clothes and then washed his face before he woke up. Young-si took him downstairs. Aunt Xiao had already arrived, and Young thought that if she left, she would first have to make arrangements for Aunt Xiao. So, after having breakfast with Yi, she told Aunt Xiao, "I will take Yi on a trip during this period. During this period, you can come over every week to clean up. As for today's lunch, there is no need to make it. I will go out in the morning. Don't worry, I will also pay the salary during this period. I will notify you of the rest when I come back." Aunt Xiao was very happy to have an extra vacation, but she still reminded, "What should I say if Mr. S family comes over?" "Do you mean your mother-in-law's family?" Young-si touched his chin and thought for a while, "If there is an emergency, let them call me." With that being said, Young-si took Yi upstairs to pack her luggage. She had booked a flight for 10 o'clock in the morning, and it was only around 8 o'clock now, so she could make it in time. Young-si hugged Yi and carried the suitcase in the other hand. Aunt Xiao was disposing of the garbage. She said hello to her, and the two went out together. Aunt Xiao threw the garbage into the trash can outside the villa, and then helped to hold Yi. Young-si followed behind with a trolley suitcase. Aunt Xiao took the two of them to the car before returning. The car drove to Incheon Airport. Young-si paid the money, then held Yi in one hand and dragged the trolley case to the airport with the other. I don't know which celebrity's flight is today. The airport exit is full of young girls picking up the plane. Young-si carefully holds them one by one and squeezes past, fearing that they will be bumped into. As soon as I passed through the crowd, I heard cheers. A group of girls screamed and called Appa, Sheng and I Appa. Young-si turned around and saw a handsome man wearing sunglasses coming out of the exit. Hearing the shouts, he waved to the fans and blew a kiss. The fans reacted violently and collectively called Appa. Young-si didn't know much about Smecta's celebrities, so after looking at it, he turned away without interest. Big Bang's Magne Shingyi suddenly saw a familiar figure when he was communicating with fans. It just passed by him for a flash. His manager Zheng Bao was surprised when he suddenly stopped and asked, "What's wrong?" Shengyu shook his head and replied, "It's okay. Maybe I saw it wrong. My sister-in-law should not be at the airport at this time. Brother Zhilong will be discharged from the army tomorrow, so she should stay at home now. He must have seen it wrong. Thinking of this, Sheng and I wanted to complain that his brothers had enlisted in the army one after another in the past 2 years, leaving only him active. It doesn't matter if he has to visit a few elderly people frequently. Brother Zhilong is even more outrageous, even leaving his wife and children to him. His girlfriend didn't even think about getting married until she was pregnant. She enlisted in the army immediately after getting married and didn't even see the child being born. Instead, his younger brother was busy helping him take care of his wife and children. Thinking of Yi's cute little face, his heart melted. Otherwise, after picking up Brother Zhilong tomorrow, I will go to see my little nephew. He has been traveling in China during this period and has not seen Xiao Yi for a long time. Then let's go back to the company quickly. The president will have a meeting to discuss picking up Zhilong tomorrow. Zheng Baojing interrupted his thoughts. Xingyu nodded and left in a car under the escort of airport security. On the other side, Yang Si had no idea about her whereabouts and was almost hit by someone. She took care of her luggage and carried Yi to the security check. She only had a small bag in her hand, which contained her mobile phone, bank card, and change. After the security check, it was only 9:30, and there were still 40 minutes before the plane took off. Seeing that Yi was very energetic, she asked warmly, "Yi, are you hungry?" Yi was looking around curiously. He probably rarely saw so many people at once. He was much quieter than at home. Yang Si carried him into the convenience store opened in the waiting room and became interested when he saw the colorful packaging bags one by one. In his little memory, these bags were full of delicious food, and every time Uncle Xingyu came to see him, he would bring a big bag with him, although Mama always hides them afterwards. Yi kicked up his feet and struggled in Yang Si's arms. Yang Si put him on the ground, and then saw Yi walking directly to the shelf, tiptoeing to reach the things on the shelf. He was short and could only reach the bottom 2 floors. He handed something to Yang Si. The waiter next to him looked at the Coke and brought a basket to give to Yang Si. Yang Si thanked him, picked a few items from the shelf above, and put the things that Yi had dragged to the ground back to their original places one by one. Finally, he took another bottle of mineral water, then picked up Yi with a basket and went to check out. Before getting on the plane, Yang Si received a call from her best friend Tang Jia. She said to Yang Si directly, "My dear, if you don't come to this class reunion, that little bitch won't be able to arrange it. I helped you deal with it the first 2 times, how about it? You still won't come this time?" Tang Jia was a classmate in high school. They were so good that they agreed to be admitted to the same university, but before their military training was completed, she traveled through time. Unexpectedly, things have changed. College has not even started yet, and now I have to attend a class reunion. She was wronged for losing 7 years for nothing. I'm going to fly back to China right away. Why don't we wait until we meet? Tang Jia became excited. "You are finally willing to come back from South Korea. I haven't seen you since you got married and went abroad. Are you with your husband when you come back this time? What time is the flight? Do you want me to pick you up?" "No, I'm just taking the kids. Please excuse me. I'll be at Shanghai Pudong Airport at about 1 o'clock. Then Yang Si sighed. "It's hard to say. Let's wait until we meet to talk." "Okay, let's talk about it then." Yang Si booked a regular seat, which was relatively narrow. After more than an hour's journey, her back ached and her legs were numb. She felt relieved after getting off the plane. Yi was lucky enough to sleep all the way. Yang Si didn't wake him up and just carried him to wait for the checked luggage. After getting his luggage, Yang Si followed the signs and walked to the exit. Pudong Airport is so big that it took half an hour just to get out. By the time she found Tang Jia, she was so tired that she had to stop eating. Tang Jia has changed a lot. He wears light makeup and has burgundy curly hair hanging down his back. She looks much more mature and beautiful than the short hair she had when she first entered college. She got out of the car and helped put the trolley box in the trunk, then walked to Yang Si and looked at Yi's sleeping face and said, "This kid doesn't look like you." Yang Si shushed and whispered, "Don't wake him up. Otherwise, he'll make trouble if he doesn't sleep well. Tang Jie opened the rear door, and Yang Si got in the car and laid him down on the rear mat. Then he replied to Tang Jie, who was sitting in the driver's cab, "Maybe he looks like his father." Tang Jie said, "Oh," started the car, and asked again, "He is staying at my house during this period, and my husband will let him go back to live with his parents for 2 days." Yang Si had the nerve to separate a young couple. Although she was very curious about the person Tang Jie married, she still refused her kindness. "I have already booked a hotel when I came here. Just send me there." Tang Jie drove her to see her off. Yang Si looked outside and felt that there had been too many changes in the past 7 years. Many high-rise buildings had risen from the ground. Shanghai has changed so much. Tang Jie drove the car onto the viaduct and replied to her, "Yes, you've been running away to South Korea for 3 years. If you don't come back, you won't even know the roads in the city." Yang thought that there was something else she wanted to know, so she told Tang Jie about her current situation. When the red light came on, Tang Jie stepped on the brakes and turned to look at her. "Are you sure you're not joking? Why did you lose a large chunk of memory for no reason? This is not writing." Yang Si replied very cautiously, "I'm very sure and certain. I even remember that I was still in military training. A fat girl in front of me staggered and hit me. Who would have thought that I would wake up 7 years later?" "You were hit during the military training, and you woke up after being sent to the infirmary by the instructor. There were no sequelae after that." Tang Jie reached out and touched her forehead and asked, "Is there something wrong? Have you seen a doctor?" Yang Si pushed her hand away, dumbfounded, and said, "I'm not sick. Everything I said is true." There was a horn sound from behind. When Tang Jie saw the green light, he quickly released the clutch and stepped on the accelerator. Yang Si continued, "You don't know how panicked I was when I woke up. I grew 7 years older and had a son for nothing." Tang Jie drove the car and listened to her talk about what she did after losing her memory. Finally, Yang Si concluded, "So, I must have traveled through time in this situation." Tang Jie shook his head. "I think you've read too much. Time travel is no longer popular now." "Okay, I'll make arrangements at the hotel later. I'll take you to the hospital for a checkup to make sure there's something wrong." Seeing that her best friend didn't believe it, Yang Si was disappointed, and then remembered the news she wanted to find out. "Do you know what happened to me in the past few years?" Tang Jie understood what she wanted to ask, but he was going to disappoint her. "I don't know much about you after you went abroad. I only know that you had a falling out with your family and then married to South Korea. I haven't met your husband either. I heard you say that your husband was eager to join the army and got married in the United States. And..." She nodded to the little one who was sleeping soundly in the back seat and said, "Your family is still American." Yang Si was not surprised to hear that he had a falling out with his family. Her current family is a divorced and remarried family. She lives with her mother, and her sister lives with her biological father. Although her stepfather doesn't care much about her, her mother definitely doesn't agree with her marrying abroad. She doesn't agree with her sister just marrying in a different place. Yang thought, now that she has returned to China, she must see her mother. How can mother and daughter have an overnight feud? What's more, she has already cooked rice, and her mother has to accept it even if she doesn't accept it. When she heard that Yi's nationality was American, she was completely stunned. She felt that their family was still a small United Nations. Her father was Korean, her mother was Chinese, and her son was American. Each family member's nationality was different. The passport Yang Si took before was in Korean, and he didn't read it carefully, so he didn't know about it. However, since the child is still young, the nationality should still be able to be changed. She doesn't want her son to have American citizenship at all. It would be best to change it to Chinese citizenship. The car stopped in front of the hotel, and the doorman came to open the door. This is the Hilton Hotel in Jing'an Temple, and the hotel service is first class. After Yang Si knew about his savings, he decided to come over and make a splash. Yang Si hugged Yi and got out of the car. At this time, Yi was already awake and rubbing his eyes with his little hands. Tang Jie got out of the car and helped take out the suitcase, then threw the car keys to the doorman and asked him to help park the car. Yi was fully awake at this time and was nestling in Yang Xi's arms, staring at Tang Jie curiously. "Yi, call me Aunt." Yang Xi pulled his little hand. One by one, they shouted obediently. "Auntie," this voice was full of sugar. Tang Jie came over with a trolley suitcase, pinched Yi's cheeks with his free hand, and responded, "Hey." The little guy's voice is quite sweet. Chapter 3, Knowing the Past. Yang Xi ignored Yurong and said with a proud face, "Like me, I have a sweet mouth." Since she was a child, she has seen people talking about people and ghosts, coaxing the aunts and uncles in her alley to want to take them home in their pockets. Of course, this is what her mother said later. Tang Jie rolled his eyes at her and walked towards the revolving door of the hotel with an unbearable expression on his face. Yang Xi followed them one by one, holding them in his arms. She took the key card at the counter and went upstairs. Tang Jie followed him into the room. As soon as he entered the door, he praised her. "This room is quite big, and there is a living room." She patted Yang Xi on the shoulder and said, "Yes, it seems that she married a rich man." Yang Xi put them down one by one and let Tang Jie look at them by himself. She then walked into the bedroom with her suitcase and followed her like a little follower. Tang Jie also followed. Seeing that Yang Xi was planning to pack his luggage, he hurriedly wailed, "Please, stop working now and pack it when you come back later. Go, eat first. Even if you are not hungry, don't starve your son." When Yang Xi thought it was right, he put down his clothes and took Yi to the bathroom. The kid would wet his pants if he didn't pee after waking up, and she almost forgot about it. After washing their hands one by one, the two women went to the bathroom one after another. Yang Xi touched up her lipstick and asked, "Should we order it up to eat? Or should we go to the restaurant to eat?" "Of course I'm going to the restaurant to eat. I haven't seen what Hilton's restaurant looks like." As she said this, she clapped her hands towards Xiao Yi. "Come on, let Annie hold you one by one." Seeing Mama nodding, she slowly walked up to Tang Jie and opened her hands. Tang Jie picked up Yi and walked out the door. Yang Xi picked up her bag, took out the key card, and followed her to close the door. There is a map of the hotel in the elevator, which shows that there are 6 restaurants alone, all located on different floors. The two discussed it, and Yang Xi pressed the button for the second floor. The elevator quickly went down. It stopped several times, and all the tenants who came up were tenants who wanted to go downstairs. There were not many people dining in Sui Yuan at this time. Yang Xi and Tang Jie followed the waiter and found a seat by the window to sit down. Yang Xi took the menu and handed it to Tang Jie. "Please order some. Let's make do with this meal." When Tang Jie heard what she said, his hand shook and he failed to catch it. The menu fell on the table with a muffled sound. She said depressedly, "Eating in a 5-star hotel is okay, but where can I say it's official?" Yang Xi shut up and forgiven her for not changing her mind for a while. After graduating from high school, she did spend money lavishly for a period of time. Tang Jie bitterly scrolled through the menu, specifically picking up the expensive ones. The waiter next to him smiled even deeper when he heard this. Fortunately, Tang Jie was merciful and ordered 3 dishes and 2 desserts. The dessert was bird's nest stewed with milk and rock sugar, and he specifically asked to wait until after the meal. Since there were kids here, I didn't order any drinks, so I ordered a bunch of freshly squeezed pear juice. It's the season for fresh pears. Yang Xi added another portion of steamed hibiscus egg to Yi and ordered 2 bowls of rice. The waiter quickly finished the order and then said to Yang Xi and Tang Jie, "Would you like to pay by credit card, Alipay, or cash?" Yang Xi took out her credit card and said, "Swipe the card." The money in her bag was all Korean won, and she forgot to exchange it for soft girl coins. The waiter came over. Yang Xi pressed the password, and Tang Jie held Yi and looked at them like this. After getting the card back, Yang Xi said to Tang Jie, "Now you can pay with Alipay." Tang Jie said with a smile, "Alipay is now an indispensable payment method in China. Many people carry mobile phones without wallets." You will feel it if you stay in China for a while. When they first went to college, Alipay was only a payment method on Taobao. Yang Si took apart her chopsticks and said, "It seems I have to take the next one. Otherwise, I will fall behind." The 7-year gap cannot be caught up in a short time, but she feels much more at ease when she returns to China and does not have the same feeling of being confused when she is abroad. She saw Tang Jie sitting unsteadily in his arms and said, "Why don't you put him down first and let the waiter bring a child's seat later?" Okay, Tang Jie put them down one by one, and Yang Si called the waiter. "Please bring a child's seat over. We have children here." "Okay, please wait."